Welcome to Progress in Practice, where we explore what it really takes to build and sustain a professional service business. The hard lessons, the smart moves, the uncomfortable truths. Because success leaves clues, if you're willing to look for them. I'm Charlie Redding. Let's dive in. So Felix, welcome to the Progress in Practice podcast.
Hello.
Really looking to chatting to you. I know we've got some similar interests as well, so we'll dive into those as well. But I'd love to start off by kind of understanding more about your business. So I want to kick off with, who do you serve, how do you help them, and what makes you different?
So we are Sliq Homes, that's SLIQ, so that's shared living and quality. And we help landlords earn reliable rent without having to deal with maintenance or voids or the day-to-day hassle, basically. And we do all of that for free. So free management, we invest in their property to make it beautiful for free. We do the maintenance for free. And yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, now I've got to ask more. Tell me how you do it for free, and sort of what type of properties are you doing this for?
Yeah, so we do HMOs.
Right.
So the way we're able to do that is that we would take a 3 or 4 bed family home and we turn it into a 5 or 6 bed house share, an HMO. So where we create that extra value, that margin, that's how we can give that service.
Brilliant. And so does that change the value of the property? Does it make the tenants more, are you more likely to get the rent that you were expecting or less likely? How does that all work in comparison to what the landlord would be currently facing?
So we actually give them the market rent. So that stays the same. It's only really better and better on top. So the market rent at current, and then we would give them inflation scheduled over a 5-year period. So we lock in for 5 years so we can make our money back on the initial investment.
Brilliant. And so who is your typical client? So is it the accidental landlord that kind of bought 1 or 2 properties and now is finding it a bit of a pain in the backside? Or is it the people that have got like 20 property? Who is your typical client?
So it's not really about the landlord, it's about the property. So the way for it to work for us, when it works for us, it's going to work for them. So if the property is good and it works, then every type of landlord is for us. So we can't just get one landlord with 50 houses and take them all on, not in this area of the business at least. Yeah, so it's more about the property than the landlord itself, because it's a no-brainer. For anyone with a house that we can do what we do, it's a no-brainer for them.
And so therefore, what is the right house? So it sounds like the ideal principles, like the ideal client type principle, is more about the property than the landlord. So what makes the property ideal for you to be able to take on?
So it has to be desirable to working professionals.
Right.
So generally between 20 and 35. And so it's going to be close to a tube station, easy to get into the city. So that, first of all, also the area. So a nice area to live in, where there's a few things happening for that age group. So bars and things like that. And then the second thing is the property itself. So we need to be able to maximize the floor space in the property. So where you'd have a family home with a double reception, there might be one room that's like 30 meters in size. Then we would chop that up, keeping the communal space, but just maximize the property itself.
Okay. So when you're chatting to somebody that owns a few properties, what would be the sort of simplest way of describing this is the property that we would, best take for this business?
We don't actually specify from a sales perspective. We don't just kind of say like, this is what it's got to be. The first thing we ask for is a floor plan and the postcode, because that's how we can really gauge if we can do something with the property. Because I don't want to leave it to them to kind of make assumptions. And, it's you can be very creative with floor space. And so I don't want to put that onto them to figure out whether it will work or not.
Okay, interesting. So what's the story behind this? What's the story that best explains why you do what you do?
Well, there's a couple of things there. I remember the reason I started a business and the business I started are two different things. So I spent my whole 20s traveling the world. I was a scuba diving instructor. DJ, fire dancer, just all the fun stuff that you don't get paid much money for. And my brother he's successful. He lives in Dubai. And I remember we went to a restaurant on the river, and the bill would have been about £800. And he was just talking, and asked for the bill. They brought it over, and he just put his card down and paid while he carried on talking. And for me at the time, I had about £100 in the bank, and I'd just started reading a book. What's the name of the book? I'll remember in a second. I just started getting into a bit more self-development and things. It had already been working in me. And I just really had this moment of like, oh my God, I can't start a family, I don't have security. Like, what does the future hold for me? Because my traveling is I started doing a few dangerous things to try and get that buzz from it again, to keep getting something from that life. And yeah, I just realized that lifestyle was over, and it really kind of hit the core of me, it hit the man in me of like, my goodness, like I can't provide, So yeah, that was definitely a big moment for me to go, okay, it's time for change. So yeah, I actually remember leaving the table. I went to the bathroom to kind of shake it off. Yeah, I can feel it now. Yeah. So that was a big moment for me. And the reason I chose this business is because I came to London, and my experience of the lettings industry was there was no service, there was no integrity, a lot of lies. And just through the nature of the beast, I think, where agents would get paid up front, that they didn't then have to do a good job. And so the inspiration came from just giving a good service and doing what you said you'd do when you said you would do it.
Brilliant. I love that. I think that there's so many great businesses are born out of somebody experiencing something badly and going, this can be done better. Branson was obviously famous for that. Dyson was famous for that. So I love that. But I can't let you mention the scuba diving thing without asking you, where were you a dive instructor?
So two main places would be Koh Tao in Thailand and the Great Barrier Reef.
Amazing. So I learned to dive at Bands Diving in Koh Tao.
No way. I was an instructor there.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, I suspect I was there a lot earlier than you were there. But I was there. I learned in 1999, I think.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
With a Canadian guy called Ryan, who was absolutely brilliant. But yeah, no, amazing scuba diving there. Love that. So now that you've been running this business for a while, if you could go back to your younger self and pass them a memo that could speed up this journey, what would that memo say and why?
Yeah. So I think what I get from your question is something where retrospectively I look back and I realize a lot of time getting to the next step, whether that's in business or personally, it's been hindered by confusion, not knowing what to do or where to go or how to grow. And I suppose in life, I see it that the quicker that we can progress into becoming who we want to be and to create the value that we want to create in the world, the quicker we can do that, the further we get to experience ultimate being, I suppose you could say.
Brilliant. And what ways have you found that have speeded that up for you?
Yeah, so I think it's to discover who you truly are and to honor that by being authentic, because we all have characters, and we're all kind of acting at different degrees in different circumstances, just trying to kind of survive, I suppose, from the chimp brain perspective. And I think the challenging thing is just to really be who you are. And that, in essence, is what attracts into your life the people and the situations and opportunities that are aligned with you. And that's where the magic happens. That's where you can thrive. And not only progress, it's not just progress, it's about enjoying that and enjoying being in the right zone.
Is there anything that's helped you do that? Like anything that you've done that's helped you sort of find your way with finding your true self?
Lots. Yeah. I mean, traveling for sure, because you can try on, when you're away from everything you can try on whatever you want. You can try on different characters. You get to experience different cultures and see how other people think and how they relate to the world. But lots of personal development courses, books. I think as well, main thing is about having the courage to take risks, because that's really where you learn. It's not when you're staying comfortable. So where I've forced myself to be uncomfortable is where I've learned the most.
Brilliant. And I often say, I think you might have heard me say at a workshop you came to, but it's when you step outside your comfort zone that the magic happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. I'm uncomfortable now. This is first podcast I've done. And so, yeah, in this moment, there is a level of discomfort because I'm unfamiliar, but it's exciting at the same time.
Well, you're nailing it, so you don't need to be uncomfortable. But I love the fact that you're stepping outside your comfort zone to do it. I suspect that you're too young to have children, but if you could leave no money to your next generation, just a piece of advice or a principle, what would it be and why?
I think it's to not take life too seriously. Yeah, because that summarizes so many things. I think it's a fundamental principle that you can apply to anything. And that can be, I just feel like any in business, I mean, this is generally about business, right? The podcast. Yeah. So it applies everywhere. But I think, especially with a business, things don't go how you want them to go. And if you let yourself be affected because you're taking it seriously, then you get demotivated. You waste time being in your stories about all that stuff. And I think that the only way to actually create something of big value is to be resilient. And part of resilience, I think, is not taking life seriously. Just, whatever. This person's angry at me. Let them. Just that kind of attitude, I think, is, that's where I think use is.
I think that's great advice with regards to business and life, isn't it? It's just like when we don't take it too seriously and don't take it personally, then we can be much more resilient. And certainly I remember learning that journey and all that process in my financial planning journey. And it was, I think that's great advice. I think it's really astute.
You have to be careful with that one. It needs to be delivered with the context because like we only live once, right? Yeah. And so we need to take it very seriously, let's do this life. This is, as far as we know, the only life we get. So,
yeah. But I also think it kind of ties in with, mentioned Richard Branson earlier, but that ties in with the whole fun. Business can still be fun. It doesn't have to be serious. You've got to treat it seriously, but you can still have fun on the journey, can't you? So I think that's very wise words. What's the biggest obstacle that's blocking you in business right now?
I'd like to say the government, but that's a stupid answer. The more taxes, more corporation tax, more regulations, especially in property. So yeah, we're up against a few changes with that. But you can't change that. So I wouldn't call it an obstacle. It's just the way it is, but I would say operations. Okay. So we're very close to going from startup context from an operations perspective to the foundation for corporation. I mean, that's maybe a bit of a statement, but yeah, having the operations with all the processes, everyone in their job role knowing exactly what they're doing, the KPIs. So essentially removing myself from being the bottleneck through all of the decisions and everything. Yeah, because I think every business owner probably has to go through what I'm going through at the minute and finishing the projects that I've got. So I've got a mentor with that is definitely going to unleash me again. So I can not be in the business so much, doing things and kind of orchestrating and answering questions and solving problems and things like that.
And I think that's, again, I think it's a really common pain point amongst business owners, isn't it? I think you've wisely worked out that the biggest bottleneck in most businesses is the business owner themselves, and and getting themselves out the way, almost trying to make themselves redundant is the key to building a saleable and scalable business. And
Yeah.
and the processes that work backstage, which so in the trusted team I would call those outstanding operations. Those processes make a business saleable, scalable. It means that you don't have to do it. Somebody else can do it. If that person leaves or is sick, somebody else can take over from them.
Yeah.
All of that is just a really, really important principle. So I have
How do you relate to that?
well, so I I make sure that in all my businesses we have everything documented, videoed, like literally, because it creates so much power in the business and it makes the business resilient to risk. It makes it a more saleable business. And so yeah, these outstanding operations, I'm very, very focused on making sure that everything is documented because it just makes the business so much better. But what I'll happily do for you, so we do a session that normally we only give to the trusted team members, but called Outstanding Operations. I'll send you a link to it, and I'll put a link in the show notes for anyone else that's interested, because if that helps you build out those, I'm more than happy to send you
Thank
that.
you very much. Yeah. Something I remember from the talk that you did is that you go away 3 months of a year, I think it was. And so
I take 3 months of every year off.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
And have done for over a decade.
Yeah. And that's I wrote that down on some paper a few years ago. And for that to happen by default, you have to have already gotten through what I'm going through now.
Yeah, you do. I remember being in a room of about 500 business owners, and they asked us all to stand up, and they said, if you had the phone tomorrow morning and say you're not coming back for a month, how many people's business would survive? And about 80% of people, and it was like, sit down if it wouldn't still be there. And about 80% sat down. They've got to sit, they carried on asking the same question. And we got to 6 months, and there was 2 people, me and one other, still standing. So that shows you how few businesses think that their business would run without them for 6 months. So it's a great, and that's a huge part of, it's a cornerstone of it, of making sure that it happens. So what book, and maybe this was going to prompt the book that you thought of but you couldn't remember the name of, and we can come back to something else if not, but what book or any other framework has helped you on your journey, and where is that evident in your business today?
Got it. Thank you. It was Think and Grow Rich.
Yes, a brilliant book. Brilliant. Where does that show up in your business or life?
Oh, good question. So the first thing that came up for me was Jim Rohn. Yeah, he said something like, become successful not because of the riches it will make for you, but because of what it will make of you.
Wise words.
Yeah. But the interesting thing, because that doesn't really answer your question, this is more looking back, because I couldn't see and understand what he meant when I first heard it. But now, having had the forced self-development through owning and growing a business, I can see that if everything just collapsed and the business was taken away, bank balance back to zero, it wouldn't actually be that much of a bad thing because of who it's made me. It's really shone a torch on everything that I sucked at. Every weakness has been,
and strength, hopefully, as well.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah. And getting out of the operations is part of being able to, it's great to learn, everything that I was weak, but it's also great to be in your element, and like really own and just multiply what your strengths are. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the key to business, isn't it? It's about delegating everything that is your weakness and only doing the 1 to 3 things that are your strength and the things that you love. That's the key to a successful business, is doing exactly that.
100%. I remember the day where I realized, I had a bit of an epiphany, so I just thought that everyone loved doing what I love doing. And I was trying to convince people and felt bad asking people to do, for example, admin. And I had someone work for me and they just absolutely loved it. And it was a real moment for, wow, like they would hate doing what I love doing. Yeah.
So many people get caught up on that, but one person's rubbish is another person's treasure. So that's the key to building a team, isn't it? It's brilliant. So If people want to find out more about you or about Sliq Homes, and maybe they've got a property that they think would fit what you just described in terms of turning into an HMO, where do they find out more about you? Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, so we've got website is www.sliqhomes.co.uk. That's Sliq, SLIQ, stands for Shared Living and Quality. And LinkedIn is Felix-Mead, MEAD.
Brilliant. Felix, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. Really loved the insights we talked about. And and love the fact that we both spent quality time at Bands Diving as well.
I was there 5 years at Bands Diving. Yeah, I was resident DJ there. Scuba instructor. It's crazy that you went.
I don't think we had a resident DJ in my time, but that's really cool.
Amazing.
And for all of you listening at home, as a reminder, the Progress in Practice podcast is brought to you by the trusted team that helps people build a saleable and scalable business. So keep on working, keep on making progress, and I'll put all of Felix's links in the show notes. Thanks again, Felix.
Charlie, you're awesome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
If this conversation resonated, you'll find more support, structure, and community inside the trusted team, where ambitious service-based founders come to build businesses that are scalable, saleable, and sustainable. You can find out more at thetrusted.team. And if you're enjoying Progress in Practice, please make sure you follow the show and leave a rating and review. It really helps more founders find these conversations and to bring you better and better guests. So until the next time, keep progressing.